if your email address is actually, let's say, suspended or broken or completely dead, as in it no longer exists anymore, they're going to get a bounce back. Is there any way to retrieve emails that I should have received during the time my mail wasn't working? Let's do a quick lesson on how email delivery works. Now, out there on the internet, we have many email addresses, we have many domain names, and we have email servers. Email servers are what receive the mail, they hold the mail, and these days, most of your mail will live on a server for most of its life rather than being downloaded to your computer, which used to happen in the old days. So we would have Mac Mail or we would have Outlook, and it would download and basically drag those emails off the server down to your computer and they would live there. But if you're working from Outlook Online, if you're working from Gmail, all your emails live on the server now, and they typically don't get downloaded to your computer. But let's talk about how email moves from server to server. And for that, we need our DNS and we need our domain names. Now, the easiest way to think about a domain name is like a company registration. That's a name that you own, but it does have a very special reason for existing. It's got a very special purpose. And that special purpose is for it to make sure that when someone types in your name they want to send an email to, the right server is selected, and that usually has an IP address associated with it, to receive your email. And so when we type in the domain name, it uses the domain name service, DNS, which is the settings of your domain name, to tell anyone in the world or any computer in the world where to send your email. So that's pretty straightforward. You configure your DNS, you set up your MX records or your mail records. MX stands for mail exchanger. And your MX records point where your emails go. Now, if you're using Google Workspace, that is going to be pointing towards Google's Workspace servers. You, in the past, used to have multiple servers defined, but now they just have one server, and you just point your email to that via your DNS, and then, hey presto, everyone knows that that's where your email needs to go. But what happens if your email is not working, if it's down for some reason? Well, why might an email be down, right? An email might be down because the server's down or unavailable. And that happens sometimes, but if you're in the Google Workspace ecosystem, it's pretty much zero, but does happen from time to time. Secondly, you may have misconfigured your DNS, and this is much more common. Maybe you changed web hosts, maybe you were in there late at night and trying to add something for a new website that you're trying to launch and you accidentally deleted your MX records, which cover your mail. Or maybe you forgot to renew your domain name and the domain name expired and temporarily your DNS settings were no longer there. You stopped receiving email. Now, if any of those are the case, it means that your email server is not receiving those emails. And that's why you can't see the emails. You might still be able to launch Gmail, but you just can't see any new emails coming into your inbox. It also means that when someone else in the world is trying to type in your email address and send you an email, there's a number of things that might happen for them. Now, typically, the first thing that's going to happen if your email address is actually, let's say, suspended or broken or completely dead, as in it no longer exists anymore, they're going to get a bounce back. And that is to let them know immediately, hey, we tried to send your email, but effectively the mail was returned to sender. And that's no different to incorrectly addressing an envelope or a package, sending it to someone, and then the post office bringing it back to you because there was no one there at the address, or the address no longer exists. Return to sender means that their email that they sent is back in their hands and no further action is going to be taken. There's no attempted redelivery, nothing else happens. They got a bounce back. The email delivery was failed from their server and their server's not going to try again. But sometimes something different happens. See, if your server is temporarily unavailable but still valid, or your settings are correct but for some reason there is a delay in the email being sent to you, quite often, email servers will hold and attempt to redeliver email for 24 to 48 hours or sometimes even longer. So emails can sit in limbo. They can sit in no man's land sometimes for a particular period of time. Now, you don't necessarily have control over that period of time because it's everyone else's email server in the world that is controlling this. They will attempt to redeliver multiple times, and if they eventually get through, great. If they don't get through eventually, they'll probably send a bounce back to the original sender. But you don't know for sure how much email is queued and attempting to be sent to your server, and you can't control it either. So sometimes when you've had an outage, if you want to get those emails back that people sent to you, you just have to wait for the attempted redeliveries to happen. And usually if you catch that you forgot to renew your domain name or you didn't pay your bill and your account was paused, usually if you can catch that within 24 hours, you'll still get all of your email because they'll be held for redelivery. Eventually they'll be redelivered sometime in the next couple of days, and then they all come through. But if you've got an extended period of time where your email address or your email server was unavailable, after 2 or 3 or 4 days, people are probably either going to receive bounce backs, or in rare cases, they may have sent the email and they received no notification that the delivery was unsuccessful. That is dictated by their email settings and their email server. Nothing you can do about that. But in most cases, there will either be a successful redelivery or a failure and a bounce back to the original sender. Hopefully they read those and then they can act accordingly and resend. If you need more help with what we've covered in this video, itGenius provides support services to businesses all over the world with problems just like this. Click the link below to get started.